Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jason Huval. I am the broker for Central Metro Realty, and today I'm going to discuss the lead-based paint addendum form. There's two versions of this form. One is for the sales, like buying or selling a house, and the other one is for landlord-tenant relationship. The one I'm discussing today is for sales. The forms are very similar, but this particular one, it's a TXR Form 1906, and you can see the long title here, Addendum for Seller's Disclosure of Information on Lead-Based Paint and Lead-Based Paint Hazards as Required by Federal Law. So, so let's just dive right into it. The questions, I had a couple questions from agents, and normally what prompts these videos is I get the same questions a couple, 2 or 3 times in a row, and it reminds me like, oh, maybe I should make a video. There's probably more people that have the same questions. But in a nutshell, this is used for old houses. This condos, houses, prior to 1978. Every purchaser of any interest in residential real property on which a residential dwelling was built prior to 1978 is notified that such property may present exposure to lead from lead-based paint that may place young children at risk of developing lead poisoning. I always thought it was kind of funny because it's not just, adults can eat paint chips also. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing. We all this fair housing, and I guess children are more prone to eating paint chips than adults. But anyways, in a nutshell, if you've got a house this is the form that you need for your older properties prior to 1978. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to put our address here at the top. The questions kind of come around these boxes, like, well, when do somebody knows about lead-based paint in a house? That would be if somebody did a remodel and maybe they had to do some kind of remediation or something to remove paint. Maybe they have reports on it. But I would just so normally a seller doesn't have any actual knowledge, the second box. But if they did a remodel, maybe they had some. So you have to ask your seller, hey, do you know of anything? Or make sure that they really understand that. But typically not. They don't have knowledge, but just assume, again, I tell every buyer, assume that there is lead paint on the wall. I was born in 1978, and so, I wasn't around to paint with this paint, but when I was talking to my dad about it, he said that it was amazing. Like the paint was just amazing. It was so easy to use. And so everybody used it. It was in everything. And so just assume that there is lead-based paint on that wall if the house is prior to 1978 build. So you have this first round here, known lead-based paint or hazards, and then no actual knowledge. And so that's where you're going to ask your seller this information. Records and reports available to seller is provided. So the first one, seller is provided purchaser with all available, or seller has no reports. The option A is, again, like they were doing a remodel. Maybe they came across it and it was a hazard and they had to do some kind of remediation or something. They had to have it tested. They should have reports and documentation for all that. And that should be 100% disclosed. Anything that that they know. That's in general, right, guys? I mean, any kind of disclosure, anything that would have an effect on a buyer's decision to purchase a property should be disclosed. But we're talking about this form here, lead-based paint, specifically any docs that they have related to that. That's where you'll check the box. Or again, if the seller doesn't have any knowledge, they just assume it has paint on the wall, they don't have any reports, you'll check box B. Buyer's rights. So I've been selling real estate for a hot minute. I started in 2005-ish. I've never seen a buyer conduct a risk assessment or an inspection. So this first option here, it can be an option for your buyer. But I would, again, as a buyer's agent, I would save them money and say, this property has lead-based paint. I mean, it just does. Just assume that. So don't sand the walls down. Make sure you have to bring in a qualified expert if that's something you need to do, some kind of major remodel or tear up or sand, or if there's going to be dust in the air. Don't eat the paint chips. For your small kids, you have to, or some adults, you have to make sure that they're aware of that. So there's your options here. So you can waive this, well, like I said, which is typical. I don't think I've ever had anybody actually do an inspection, or you can actually do an assessment, which again, if it is a home built before 78, it's going to turn up lead-based paint. I can tell you it will, with 90% confidence. Buyer's acknowledgement. Buyers received all copies of information listed above. That would be reports or anything that you might have from the seller. And then they've received a pamphlet, Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home. Now, this is a separate report. You can get this. This is a Texas Realtor form, so however you get access to those forms. But it's this pamphlet right here, Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home, with the adorable little baby on the front that might eat some chips, some paint chips or whatever. But again, this is the pamphlet that you're supposed to give to your buyers. Make sure that they have received this, and check the box accordingly that they have received it right here on D2. And then broker acknowledgement here, certification of accuracy. Again, this is your, just like any disclosure should be true and accurate, but anyways, in a nutshell, that's the form. The real questions come around, typically on this are like, should we do an inspection or not? And the real answer, I mean, it's up to you. But if I'm a buyer's agent, assume it has lead paint. If you want to know exactly where it is, maybe that would be a reason. Hey, we did a remodel on this wing of the house. Maybe this one doesn't have, or what have you. But most of the time, I just assume the worst. The house is full of lead paint. Don't eat the chips. Or if you're going to do a remodel or something where it's going to require you to sand the walls, or there's going to be dust in the air, it's going to be more expensive. You're going to have a more remediation required, likely, to get that work done. So, anyways, I hope this helps. If you have any other, any questions about this form or anything, you can always call or email us anytime. Thanks so much for watching.